Now, a note of optimism for you on the programme now, and perhaps a rather unexpected one. The majority of French people say they're confident about the future of the European Union and the future of their own country. Now, 2/3 of them say a firm yes to staying in the European Union. This is all according to a major survey published today, commissioned by France 24, along with several other French public media services. Now, here to crunch some of the numbers for us is our European Affairs editor, Nicholson. Catherine, first of all, in recent years, Eurosceptic voices here, like Marine Le Pen, have done pretty well in polls in France, but it seems that actually French people have a slightly more measured opinion of the EU.
Yeah, I would say they do, looking at the results of this survey. We asked people, for example, if they wanted to leave the European Union. You know, there was so much talk about the so-called Frexit just a few years ago, but there you go, there are the figures on screen right now. Just under a third say yes, let's get out, but 63% saying that they want to stay in the European Union. So quite a resounding majority there for staying within. We also asked people, are they confident about the future of France, the European Union, and some other countries? I think that threw up some quite interesting results as well. Now, French people do tend to have quite a good impression of Germany and how well things are going in their big neighbour there to the east, but we can see French people confident about the future of France as well. 56% say they're optimistic there. Now, on the European Union, 51%, so yes, half and half. But again, given the Euroscepticism and Eurocriticism of recent years, perhaps a nice surprise for the Europhiles in France. Interestingly, a much less good opinion of, as you can see here, China and Russia, seen as very authoritarian by French people, United Kingdom, which has this very long, strong history and relationship with France, of course. But French people are paying close attention to what's happening in the UK vis-à-vis the post-Brexit era, the impact of COVID on the economy, the impact of the end of freedom of movement, and the European workers who can't work so easily in the UK anymore. So we can see there's some marked pessimism about the future of the United Kingdom from their French neighbours.
So some confidence among French people in the EU, but not really for the EU's economy.
Yes, that's right. We asked them if they think that the EU economy will get better or worse in the coming months. Not totally specific, but just in the next few months that we can think about. So 46% do say they think it'll get worse. About a third think it'll get better. 15% stay the same. Of course, there's enormous uncertainty in the EU at this point about the economy. Huge cuts to GDPs during the first lockdowns, particularly in 2020. And French people are having a hard time seeing whether things are going to get better imminently. This is, of course, important with a French election coming up, as we know, in the spring. And the link between the French economy and the European economy. Of course, France is one of the big members of the Eurozone as well. So this is a very interesting statistic, I think, for French political leaders to pay attention to.
Indeed, Catherine, and we commissioned this survey in the run-up to France taking on the presidency of the EU Council. That's a big political moment for France, isn't it? But often European news, as you'll know very well as our European Affairs editor, has some trouble breaking through into mainstream consciousness here in France. Do you think French people know very much about the EU presidency and about these kind of key European figures?
Well, it certainly was one of the areas we were most interested in seeing, actually. And I have to say, among my team, the Europe team at France 24, we were somewhat surprised to see that 49% of French people who we polled do know that it is France that's taking over the EU presidency as of January the 1st. 38% didn't know. We were expecting that to be somewhat higher. People also know quite a few key European figures, and they'll be interested to see this as well. So top of the personalities that we put to them, Michel Barnier, the Brexit negotiator, 68%, of course, waiting to see this weekend whether he might be picked as a presidential candidate for his party as well. Thierry Breton, France's European Commissioner, 50% recognition. And then we have Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, doing somewhat less well, 45%. But again, these figures are somewhat better than we've seen in the past. So it does seem that European news is somewhat breaking through. We also asked people who most personifies the EU for you. Now, President Macron will be very pleased with this. He came out on top, 33%. He sees himself very much as a European president. Angela Merkel, the outgoing German Chancellor, 24%. Michel Barnier, the Brexit negotiator, doing well there again. Interestingly, Marine Le Pen, personifying the EU, 6%. not sure why she would be chosen. She is quite a Euro critic. And then Ursula von der Leyen, only 4%. So I think some very interesting results here, especially for those European leaders, to see how they're breaking through, how their messages are getting across to Europeans.
Yeah, particularly interesting Ursula von der Leyen there, just on 4%. Really interesting. Thanks very much indeed, Catherine Nicholson, for us there on the programme.